Hello, Degrassi fans, and welcome to the year 1983. Over the last 4 years, Degrassi's published 8 stories, and now they're about to produce 12 more. But before Degrassi goes on to cement itself as an actual television series, it gets enough funding to make one more annual standalone episode. And this time, it's Chuck Makes a Choice. So let's go back in time, relax in front of our television sets, and go through one small moment in the history of Degrassi.
The curtain goes up in an hour.
Chuck Makes a Choice aired September 1st, 1983, and it's the only episode to air during this year. We won't see another story from Degrassi until November 1984. And it's the very first time the Kids of Degrassi Street title card will air on television, though as we've seen it before, it was retroactively placed on the original films and episodes for reruns or any at-home media releases. One thing I love is that a lot of themes will carry over from the original episodes. Ida's again in a leadership role where she's in charge of the school play. Wendy Watson is the musical teacher overseeing the project, which is very fitting because she worked on the music for the show. And we stay caught up with notable characters like Martin and Lisa. But this time, the story focuses on brothers Chuck and Pete. Chuck's a stagehand, and Pete is playing the lead role of Robin Hood. If you remember, Chuck and Pete's dad is in jail. However, now he's at a halfway house and able to spend time with his kids outside of the facility. Pete invites their dad to the play to see him as the lead role. Except Chuck, who we remember being very open and honest about his dad, now doesn't want his dad to come. Chuck's worried that his new crush Tina will find out and judge him for it. Now, something I really liked is that the play ties into the themes of the episode, and Degrassi continues to do this trend a lot throughout the entire franchise, like in Season 2 of The Next Generation, when Jimmy tries to tame Ashley out of her goth aesthetic, while at the same time reading Taming of the Shrew in Miss Kwan's English class. But for now, we'll see it here when Pete talks to his mom about the school play.
Mom, was Robin Hood a good guy or a bad guy?
I guess he was a good guy. Why?
Robin Hood stole stuff. How can he be a good guy if he was a thief?
Well, he did steal for a good reason.
You mean like Dad?
How do you mean?
Well, what Dad did was wrong, but he done it for a good reason, and he still is basically a good guy, even though he is in jail. Right?
He was only trying to get back the money those guys owed him.
The episode also makes it very clear that there's a class divide between Tina and Chuck. Chuck's mom has to play the role of both parents. She plunges the kitchen sink, she fixes up the taxi that she drives, while also taking on the roles of cooking and taking care for the kids. We see this when Chuck has a rip on his pants and goes to his mom for help. Chuck's embarrassed of what Tina will think of his ratty clothes, though it's something he's never really cared about before. When Chuck goes to Tina's house, they're left to work in the very clean and spacious and quiet dining room, which is a juxtaposition to Chuck's house. When Tina's dad comes down the stairs, we see he's actually played by co-creator and director Kit Hood, who was also Linda's husband at the time. Let's sit back and watch Kit in action on his own TV show.
Chuck. He's working on the play too.
How do you do?
Fine. I put 2 in the laundry hamper.
Well, there must be a gremlin around here that eats socks.
Oh, Dad.
Tina, look what you've done to your top.
Relax, Dad. It's no big deal.
Well, leave it out and we'll get it fixed. No need for you to go around like a ragamuffin with your clothes all torn up.
Chuck is feeling embarrassed, but despite that, he decides to visit his dad and drop off the invitation anyway. And this is another moment I feel so proud to be a Degrassi fan. Like, it's the early 1980s, and Degrassi's airing an episode meant for children about visiting a parent in custody. And it's done completely drama-free. Chuck isn't scared or nervous. There's no judgment. He simply knows he has to go see his dad, so he's going to go see his dad. However, as brave as Chuck is, I do not like how Degrassi handled Chuck's dad and his emotions. Chuck's dad gets upset that his son is embarrassed of him and says, "I'm not going to the play and you have to tell Pete why," which I think is a really emotionally immature reaction for a grown-up to have. I get having an outburst, but his dad never apologizes. Chuck takes on the full brunt of the emotional labor and works throughout the episode to make it up to his dad. And I want to take a moment to just watch right here.
Dad, I'm sorry. Listen, I'd like you to come to the play tonight.
Really?
I wasn't thinking about the things that really count.
Sure makes me feel good to hear you say that, Chuck. Chuck. Even if I can't make it, I sure am glad you asked.
Like, I totally respect and get that Degrassi's trying to show the reality of life. Like, adults aren't always going to manage their emotions or own up to their mistakes. But I think his dad should have taken some ownership. He could have at least said, like, hey, sorry I got mad and abandoned you at the bowling alley yesterday, right? But he never apologizes. And I think where this is an educational program for kids, I expect more ownership from the adults. Like with Degrassi High and the Next Generation, it's not always about doing the right thing. It's more like, hey, you're a teenager that has to make choices, and those choices are going to have some consequences. But this isn't the only time an adult on Kids at Degrassi Street will act completely irrationally and never really own up to it. In a later episode, Cookie's mom and dad have gotten a divorce, and they constantly tie her up in the middle of it. They raise their voice at Cookie about the other parent's decisions, they discredit the other parent's parenting style, or they even lash out at Cookie, for example, when she invites both her parents to her gymnastic meet.
What's going on, Catherine?
Well, Mom was coming too, and you both couldn't come. You always fight.
Oh, thanks a lot. I'm the one who looks after you, cooks your meals, does your laundry, and then a big event comes along and you invite your mother.
No, I didn't invite her. She asked to come, and I tried to stop her too.
Oh, so you lied to the both of us.
But I had to.
No, you didn't. And lying never solved anything. I hope your mother enjoys the meet.
See, in these moments, Cookie's dad is making his anger entirely her responsibility. And he tells Cookie that, hey, all three of us will just have to work on our relationship. And Cookie apologizes, saying, oh, I know, Dad. And I just wish an adult would stand up and say, like, hey, it was wrong of me to take my anger out on you, my literal child. You know what I mean? But anyway, back to the story. Chuck invites his dad to the play. Pete is very happy to see his parents in the audience, and Chuck ends up okay that Tina finds out about it, all resulting in our classic feel-good ending. And now that's it for Degrassi storytelling in 1983. And I would say that this is the last episode that has that kind of homegrown, testing of the waters type of feel. Every episode that follows this one really seems to have a lot of structure. The storytelling's more fast-paced, and there's more of a large ensemble cast instead of just a few main kids running around Degrassi Street. But next time, Degrassi's going to dish out 11 episodes back to back to back to back. And we'll meet new characters, we'll learn new lessons, and we'll go through even more of the history of Degrassi.